How can this be God's plan for me? I don't understand.
I don't know why terrible things happen to us sometimes. But I have to believe that something good is gonna come out of this. I don't know what that is. I really wish I did. Here.
You can identify with what she's going through. I mean, she lost her arm. You know, it was her left arm, but still it was her arm. Okay, and you wonder why God was up there. He knew it was going to happen, and in the first thing you want to do is think, okay, well, like back when in Jesus' day, when those people got killed because of the tower, and then the people that Herod killed, the tower fell on a bunch of people, and then Herod killed a bunch of people, and so the people came to Jesus and said, well, why did that happen to those guys? That was horrible. Whose fault was it? Did they sin? Did their parents sin? Why did God allow this? And what was Jesus' response to that? That nobody necessarily sinned. Nobody necessarily sinned. Okay, sometimes God is glorified in some things. Sometimes things just happen. You know, it says everybody's going to die. That was Jesus' response. Everybody's going to die. You know, I mean, it's not going to. When bad things happen, it's not necessarily somebody's fault. And some people are kind of dangerous because every time bad things happen, they have to look around for somebody to blame. Now, when bad things happen to Christians, we got to think of several possibilities. What's this a picture of?
Somebody pruning.
Yeah, somebody pruning a tree. Why do we prune trees?
Bear more fruit.
Exactly. We want branches that do not bear fruit. We cut them off. Why? Because we want that energy. We want the sap and the nutrients to go to the branches that are producing fruit. So we want the whole tree to produce better fruit. So we cut off the branches that don't. I mean, I have several fruit trees, and got to do that. If you don't do it, you end up with a tree that doesn't bear fruit. One of my trees up north, one of my plum trees, produced great plums years ago, but I haven't had a chance to prune it because I'm never up there when it's time to prune. So it doesn't produce any fruit anymore. Okay, it needs to be pruned, or else. It's very important. That's a very important process. Now, according to John 15, Jesus does that to us all the time. It's important to realize that sometimes when God cuts things out of our lives, it's because He's saying, you know what? I've got something better for you. I want to redirect your energies somewhere else. I'm causing a change. It doesn't necessarily mean that you sinned. Sometimes I'm just redirecting your energies somewhere where they can be more useful. And here's the passage. I'll just read through it real quick. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch that doesn't produce fruit, and He prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. Who are the branches that He prunes? Us. So the things in our life that are not bearing fruit, lop, lop, lop. Okay, I want you to be more productive, and so He's actively involved in keeping us in shape. Now, you've already been pruned for greater fruitfulness by the message I have given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful apart from me. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me you can do nothing. Anyone who parts from me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. But if you stay joined to me, and my words remain in you, you may ask any request you like, and it will be granted. My true disciples produce much fruit. This brings great glory to my Father. I have loved you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey me, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father and remain in His love. I have told you this so that you will be filled with joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. Now, think about this warning here. When you get pruned, chances are you might not want to remain in Him. I mean, it kind of flows here. It's like when we start losing stuff that we already had and things start changing for the negative, you might want to say, you know what, this isn't what I signed up for. I've had friends who made this choice. Over the years I've been a Christian a long time. Since like 73. And along the way, I've had a lot of believers as friends, and many of those believers are not believers anymore because when they got pruned or when they started losing things, they said, you know what, this is not what I signed up for. Not what I signed up for. I'm very disappointed with God, And off they go. And God's saying, look, if you what happens if you decide to take off? Maybe you weren't in the program. When we accepted God, was it Jesus that we asked into our hearts, or was it Jeannie? Because if our expectation is that nothing bad will happen to us, that we'll never be hurt, and that we'll only be blessed and we'll have everything we desire all the time, if that was our expectation, then we were looking for Jeannie, and we're going to be disappointed.
You keep running out on me to see I don't even know who, and then you never call, and when I do finally hear from you, it's to bail you out of jail. What's going on with you?
I want to tell you. I can't.
Why not?
I just can't.
I know what this is. This is you acting out because you are afraid of making a commitment. You're nervous about us getting serious, aren't you?
Yes. That's it. You know me so well. I'm nervous about how serious we're getting.
What?
You're a woman, and frankly, you wouldn't understand.
What?
No. I'm not nervous about us getting serious. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even think about getting serious with you.
What?
Ooh. I freaked. And, Carly, I love you so much. I'm scared of messing up, and I'm scared of losing you.
Aww. I understand.
I'm so glad you could share that with me.
Where can I get some of that?
Okay. Now, sometimes the bad things that happen to us are a consequence of behaviors that are inappropriate, and they're designed. And when God allows us to experience consequences, we're to learn from it. It's instructional, and it's okay. It's a part of growing up. There are a lot of people that as they go through these consequences, they get so furious. It's like, I want to be perfect now. Why can't you just, I accept Christ and just shove it into my head so that I don't make mistakes. I'm sick of consequences. God is a lot more patient than we are. And it's important that we learn from those things. And that's another reason that we have these problems. Now, again, I'm just going to end on this one. This is James chapter 1. It says, "My dear brothers and sisters, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Your anger can never make things right in God's sight." And when we direct that anger at God, how many times it says, be angry, but don't sin? Always, it's okay to be frustrated. That's a natural response. Anger is okay, but think before we speak. When we get angry, be careful when you direct it at God. Okay, talk to Him, and you can express anger at Him. But when you hang on to anger against God, we cut our own throats, and no good comes of it. You just end up with discipline, more pain, more consequences, and you end up in a pretty hopeless, miserable state. Okay, no good comes of it. But as we hang on to Him, that's where the benefits come out of the end, because He intends it for our benefit. Okay? All right, any questions?